Hello everybody, welcome back to a new video. In today's video, I'm going to go over my predictions for what else could go limited. And this is the part 3 video to that kind of series. So let's start it. And in the first part, I went over any new series. I didn't have any variant going limited yet recently and what else could go limited from that. The second part, I went over series that already had one go limited this month or the last month. And I went over what items from those series could go limited. And in this part, I'm going to go over kind of similar to part 1. I'm going to go over some more series that I got to mention in my first part and also elaborate on some of the things that I mentioned in the first part because I was kind of vague a lot of the categories. So we're going to start off on the elaboration part because I mentioned some specifics, but I didn't mention all the specifics. So for the first part, when I talked about faces going limited, and I put that in moderately likely because they haven't made a face yet. I did mention some faces, but I do have a couple of options right over here. I did put 8-bit heart face. It was limited type face, and I think people would like to see it go limited, and it might soon, who knows. And I put poisonous face, which I think is the one that people are asking for the most to go limited. And even though there are many owners of this one, I think it's still a nice choice for them, and I think many people that weren't around then would be happy to see this limited. Next, I wanted to go over this blue eye awesome face. I think it's a pretty underrated face in general. There is a green version which is limited, so that could be something that they look at. And it did come out of a basket, which is basically like the Easter version of gifts. So definitely if you own this, I think this is a pretty good choice for them to make limited. Then there's these 3 Arthro faces that released during the Memorial Day sale in 2019. This was the last face series they ever released for a sale, and it would be nice to see them go limited. Even though they are Arthro faces and people aren't really the biggest fans of Arthro, I think they're still pretty nice, and there's still definitely space for them to come with other items. This golden one was the most expensive of the 3, followed by the blue one, and then followed by the green one being the cheapest. But I think the blue one is the rarest of the 3, and the gold one is actually the most common. So pretty interesting there, but we'll see what happens with these. Next is actually another series. This one actually released during a midnight sale in 2017. They were all, I think, 50 Robux, and they released at different times. The purple one was the most common, got almost double the sales that the other 2 did, but there's also this blue one right over here, and there's also this pink one right over here. So if you own any of these, I think they also have a good chance. Next, Pink Wistful Wink. This is a part of that Wistful Wink series, so if you've seen the other 3, they are all limited. This one actually isn't limited, so it would be nice to see this go limited just to join the other 3 faces that are also available right now, so I think that's a good reason for them to make it limited. Next, right over here, Upside Down Face. Another one that's very popular, and people want it to go limited, and I think it would do well. It cost 5,000 when it first released, so definitely pretty high up there in the price, and I can definitely see them making this one limited. And then next right over here, I think these 3 are kind of unlikely. I'm not sure if they really want to make any of these limited, but I did put them here just in case. I do have Tix Vision, Epic Vampire Face, and the Epic Face. I think that they are kind of staying away from these, but if they do want to, I think they could probably do Tix Vision, but I don't see the other 2 as very likely. But I did want to just mention them just in case. The next thing I wanted to elaborate on was the Fedoras, because I kind of just went over them and I mentioned a few. I did mention the Snow Leopard series right over here, and I was mostly talking about this hot pink one because it is off sale, but they could just make the original variants limited as well. But here are a few more options that are off sale that I think do have a good chance as well. There's this one which was something that came out of a gift, so maybe near Halloween season they could do this one, or even just right now, but they have made a lot of items that weren't actually in that season limited still, like the Sinisters, so they could go ahead and make this one limited if they wanted to. Next up right over here, I do have Robot Fedora, and if I'm not mistaken, this one was actually 1,000 Robux, so definitely a pretty expensive one. It wasn't on a limited time timer, so you could go ahead and make this one limited. I think it's a pretty nice choice, and it looks pretty good. It's definitely a pretty nice one. This one also, I'm not sure the price of this one, but it actually got a little less than 1,000 sales, so it's pretty rare. I think it would definitely do pretty good if it were to go limited, so I did want to mention this one. Expansion Fedora, one that people have been wanting to go limited for a while as well. I think it definitely does have a pretty good chance. It does match that kind of Fedora style that they do tend to make limited a lot. Bombastic Fedora has that bombastic texture, so that just makes it likelier just because of that. It's a nice looking Fedora, and I think some people that do own it definitely do want it to go limited. Next, Epic Duck Fedora. This is a pretty cool one. If you're a fan of the Epic Duck series, this is a pretty nice Fedora based on that series, so definitely a pretty nice choice if you do want to see this go limited. And I think this is definitely one that does have a better chance. Next, right over here, this one was actually an event item. Event items can go limited, and this is actually one I think people have been wanting to see go limited because of that kind of transparent effect that it has to it, which is pretty unique. Not many items actually have this, so I think that's a reason that people wanted to go limited. And I definitely could see go limited sometime, just like the Jack-o'-lantern Fedora, probably near Halloween season, or just whenever Roblox feels like it, really. Next up, I do have Orange Peel Fedora, and I think it's kind of similar to Robot Fedora, where it was limited time on a timer and then went off sale, but people actually did kind of forget about it, and the same with the Robot Fedora. Not many people actually know it exists, but it's a pretty cool creative concept, and I think it'd be nice to see it go limited. I did also want to mention this one, even though it doesn't have Fedora in the name, it kind of looks like a Fedora, so I just wanted to mention it right over here. It does have that Omega Rainbow texture, which I think a lot of items that are limited do have, so I think because of that they make it limited, and it was also limited time during a Memorial Day sale 2017, so definitely a pretty nice choice for them to make limited as well. The next thing I wanted to elaborate on was hair, because there are many different hair choices, so I wanted to go through some of them and say maybe what the likeliness of some of them going limited. This first one over here, I have Pink Action Ponytail. This is the only ponytail from that series that is actually off sale. It did release during a sale for a timer, and it actually went off sale, so it'd be nice to see this one go limited. However, I think it's pretty unlikely. It isn't actually one of those kind of hairstyles that go limited, so it might not, but I did want to mention it since it is off sale, so they could just choose it because of that. So right over here, I did want to go over this 8-bit hair for beautiful people. Many people aren't really fans of the 8-bit hair, but I did want to point it out because it is a part of that beautiful hair series, and they have made many hairs from that series limited, so I wanted to point it out right over here. And it was a limited time item as well, so definitely a pretty nice choice, and I think I could definitely see this one going limited. Next one, this is actually an on sale one, but it does have that Android texture. It's similar to the bombastic Fedora. I might just go limited because of that, so definitely not that bad. It definitely looks like a pretty nice hair, and definitely one I could see going limited in the future. Next, another one that's on sale, but it is one of the popular ones, and they have made many other midnight motor kind of items limited before, so I definitely could see this one going limited as well. Next, I do have burning hair for fiery people and frozen hair for cold people, and despite this one actually being on sale, I think it kind of goes with this frozen hair. One is just fire, one is just frozen. This one is off sale, so I think this one's more likely, but if they wanted to, they could just make the other version limited as well. And I think the frozen one was cheaper as well, so I think it might do better, but I think they're both still pretty nice choices for them to pick. Next, right over here, I have bombastic hair. This is that kind of very popular style that Roblox used to do with their girl hairs, and they had many kind of hairs like these. This one actually is a bombastic texture, which is probably why it has a higher chance, but it still looks really nice. You could definitely make some nice combinations of this, and if you were able to get it when it was limited time, it was a pretty nice collectible that could go limited soon. And this one's also kind of unlikely, but since 4th of July is coming up, I did want to mention it since it is an off sale kind of item. There is a rainbow version of this which is still on sale, and kind of similar to the other hairs that I mentioned, they don't really have a limited variant to them, so that's why they're kind of unlikely. But who knows, just because it's off sale, that might just make Roblox think, oh, this is a good choice for them to make limited. Next up, pink and purple equinox. There are many different equinox here, a lot of them are limited. It's the only off sale one that isn't a limited, so I think that's why I went to go over it. But right over here, it looks pretty nice. There's pink and half is purple, so if you're able to get it, it was on sale a couple of times before staying off sale, so definitely not that bad. This one, blue steel mohawk, is also a pretty forgotten one. It did get around like 200, 300 sales. It was 750 for a timer, so it does have that blue steel texture, which Roblox loves using those textures for limited, so they could just choose it because of that once again. And mohawks are the most popular thing, but I still think it looks nice enough for them to make it a limited item. Right over here, they do have this glorious green party queen. This one was actually 5,000 and it was available for a few hours. It is a part of that party queen series, which is very expensive hairs with these extravagant animal masks, and this is actually one of the few that were actually not limited right off the bat, and I think this is actually the rarest from that series, so definitely if you're able to buy it, you can definitely make a lot of money if it does end up going limited. So I did want to mention it because I think it is a part of that kind of series that does have the chance of going limited. And then lastly, of course, I want to go over these Shaggies. There's so many different versions, some that are off sale, some that are on sale, so I wanted to just highlight the ones I think have the best chance. There is recycled cardboard, which I think has had a good chance. It is off sale and it does have that kind of cardboard style, and many Roblox limiteds do have that style. There's Auburn Shaggy, which I think has a lot of owners. I'm not sure about that, but I think it could go limited, but I don't think it's as likely as some of the other off sale ones. Black Shaggy 2.0, same with Auburn Shaggy. I think it had a lot of owners. It is off sale, but probably not as likely as some of the other ones. Big Shaggy has a good chance because they have made other big head items limited already, so they could go with the next one, which is another Shaggy right over here. And then the last three I think are the most likely. There's Forest Green, Tix, and Cyan. I think they really could go with any of these three since they are very requested to go limited, so I think these three are the most likeliest. And next, I wanted to elaborate on some wings because I did mention two of them in the last prediction video, but I didn't really mention other choices, and there are many other kind of choices I think that do have the chance of going limited. And despite none of them actually being in a series other than wings, they really have stuck to a kind of specific mesh series. A lot of these limited choices, like for example, these sword packs just fall under sword pack series, so I think these would just fall under like wing category. But over here, this was the one I mentioned before that I think was the most likely, like gold wings. So 20,000 on a timer, they do follow that same style that a lot of the expensive limited wings do, so I think these are the most likely out of the choices. Golden sparkling wings, I think these are the second most likely. They are a limited time and they do follow sparkling wings series, which is also a popular series, so I could see them doing these if they wanted to. Next, ghost wings, these came out of a gift, so I think that's why they could choose these. They also have that transparency that many people do enjoy, so I think this is also a good choice for them. And crimson wings were a limited time wing from a few years ago. They are pretty big when you wear them on a character, so they could choose them because they are an off-sale wing and they look pretty unique. Next, beloved butterfly wings. There are many different wings on the catalog that look like this. Most of them are actually limited, so they could choose it because of that. It did come out of a gift from Valentine's Day, if I'm not mistaken, so I think that's definitely a good choice because of that, and I think many people would enjoy to see this go limited as well. Next, galaxy wings. These were also a limited time item, I think, for Midnight Sale 2017. They were 1,000 Robux, and they are a retexture of those rainbow wings, which are available. But they could go with these because they are a retexture of those popular series, and also just like the ghost wings, they do have transparency with them, which is a bonus. Next, Next, Star Wings. These are a retexture of those kind of moon glow wings. These were brought back on sale for, I think, the most recent sale other than Black Friday, I think Labor Day 2019. So definitely they could go ahead and make these limited if they do have their eye on them still. And the last thing I want to mention, even though they are stuck to a specific theme, Mardi Gras, they have made other seasonal items out of their season limited, so I did want to mention it right over here, but I could see it as a more likely option when Mardi Gras comes around next year. And finally, for the things I want to elaborate on, even though this is kind of unlikely, I still wanted to go over some gears just in case they do ever want to go to gears in the future. I did have 4 I want to go over. There are so many different options for gears that I did end up taking off sale in the past. I just want to go over these 4 because I think they are the most likely if they were to go in with anything that is unavailable. First one, Nightmare Dragon Slayer. It is a retexture of that purple kind of gear that is a limited item. This one was 5,000, so it's also pretty expensive and definitely looks pretty nice. It is rare, so they definitely could go ahead and make it limited if they want to. Next up, Fallen Ultramar's Bow. This is one they returned during sales quite a lot. 2,500 Robux, so pretty expensive and definitely a really nice looking one, and I could definitely see them making this one limited if they do want to go back to gears. Next up, this one was also 5,000 Robux, so very expensive. There are definitely many cars like this that are still available, so if they look at this car series and they definitely see this one that's off sale, they could go ahead and pick this one. This one I think is the rarest of the 4 that I'm mentioning. It has only around 100 sales, I think less than that actually, so definitely if you own this, it's definitely a very rare item and it would definitely do pretty well if it were to go limited. The last one I want to mention, because it is a part of that Federation series, it is off sale, is Dukes of the Blade Process. It was around 1,500 I think, and it got around 500 sales, so definitely a pretty nice gear, and it could go limited to match with the other green one that is also a limited item. So next I wanted to cover new items and mostly things in a series, just like the other items that have gone limited so far since they have been in a series. And I'm going to do it similarly to the first part where I'm going to say very likely and then also moderately likely. And there's no unlikely section in this one. I think everything here has a somewhat decent chance if they were to pick it. The first thing I wanted to go over was beards, because there are many different choices for them if they do want to make any of these limited. There are so many different off-sale versions, and even though they haven't really made any limited, I still think this is a decently popular series that if they were to go make any of them limited, they do have a lot of choices too. I think the more likely ones are the off-sale ones. We have Red, White, and Beard, we have Rainbow Shaggy Beard, Bombastic right over here. So they definitely have a lot of popular textures that they could choose from if they wanted to. There's also a big beard right over here to go with that big head series. Next I have Bathysphere, and this is kind of a random series. Not many people actually know it exists, but there is this one limited variant, and there are many other variants right over here. 3 of them are off sale. One was a gift card, 2 were actually limited time items, and one is the original right over here that is on sale still. And I think they could do any of these that are limited. In the gift card one, just like the DIY Cloud Card, that was a gift card, but they still put it as limited, so they could do the same with this. And I think these are all different ones that have a pretty good chance if they were to make it as limited. Next up right over here, I do have the Summer Commando. It is a part of the Commando series. Even though this one I think is one of the ones that people don't actually like because it clips through the head a bit, but I still do want to list it as an option because it is a part of that popular series. And the next series I wanted to go over were these Valk shades right over here. We do have the black Valk shades, which are actually limited, so there are these other 3. We do have this emerald one, this violet one, and also this original one, which is the original Valkyrie right over here. So I could see any of these 3 going limited to join the black Valk shades that are already limited, so these are also a pretty good option, and they're also pretty desirable. People actually want them to go limited, so I think those are pretty good choices. The next up, I wanted to go over the Federation series. There are so many different Federation items I think they could choose from, and they really could go with any of them that are on sale still or off sale, as I think they still fit with the Federation kind of items, and I think that Roblox would still choose them anyways. So we do have the Ceremonial Guard, which I think is probably the likeliest since it does have 2 other limited variants. There's also this Force of the Federation, which does have a limited variant right over here. We do have these 2 ties, which are probably not as likely, but they're still here as choices, and we do have this backpack, which also has a chance but probably not as likely as these other 2 right over here. Next up right over here, I did want to go over these W's items, and it's a pretty weird kind of series, but we do have this top hat that is limited, so I want to go over it because there are 3 other ones that could go limited from this series. There's this bowler right over here, the top scrap kind of top hat right over here. There's also this propeller beanie, so I think any of these 3 could go limited to join the top hat right over here. And then next up, I want to go over the Sparkle Time series and some other choices that I haven't already mentioned that could go limited as they are part of this series right over here. And I did want to mention this red shutter shades and these red bandana, and I did mention the other blue ones and the other one. I think those have a good chance as well. And I did also mention the other Sparkle Time bandanas that are still on sale, but these 2 are kind of underrated, but they were a gift item for collecting all the bandanas of the month. You're able to get these as a grand prize, so I think these are 2 pretty good choices if you want to make them limited right over here. These Sparkle Time handphones are the ones I could definitely see them making limited as well. We do have this propeller beanie, so it's similar to the W's. There's a propeller beanie here. They could do the wizard right over here. They could do the cheese. I think these 3 are pretty good choices. These bunny ears I think are also pretty good choices, and also these 2 bowlers, the Disco Time bowler and the blue Sparkle Time bowler. I think those 2 are pretty good choices. Despite many people actually not liking bowlers, I think Roblox definitely tends to kind of go towards them, so I definitely could see them going limited as well. Those are the ones that I haven't mentioned yet in any of my past prediction videos that I also do want to mention because I do think they have a pretty good chance. Next, I wanted to go over this Animal Hoodie series because there are 3 of them that are off sale that I think they could choose limited if they wanted to. There is this bombastic one which is limited, so they could go ahead and make some of the other ones limited. Do a Verdian over here, which I think is the most likely out of this series, and it does have that kind of popular texture. It was a limited time item, and I think people are starting to forget about it over time, so I think making it limited would definitely be a good choice for them. There is also this neon orange one, which is a gift card, but the DIY color work, they could just put it as limited, even though it is one. And there's also this neon yellow one, which is also a gift card, so they could go ahead and make this one limited since it is an off sale one. Next, I want to mention this kind of shade series, and I didn't really know about these until people actually brought them up. It seems like people are really interested in these series, and they actually really want them to go limited. So I'm not too sure about the history of them, but there are these black ones and there are these gold ones, but it looks like this one actually came out of a present over here, so they do have the chance, and I think these are kind of requested. They do have that kind of clockwork style to them, which I think is why I want them to go limited, so I could definitely see these going limited. And next one over here, I did want to mention the Chicken of the Month series. They have already made 3 of these limited. There are still the rest of the months to go limited. I think all of these except the October Encore one could go limited because that is a toy code. So if you own any of these other ones and you're able to get them, they were available. I think they also have a pretty good chance. And similar to that, I do have the Banana of the Month series. Unlike the chicken ones, none of these are actually limited, but I think they could make some of these limited if they did want to. So these are actually pretty rare, mostly the ones that released near the end of the year. I think the rarest is this November one, so definitely a pretty cool choice if you do want to make it as limited. Next, I did want to mention this Queen of the Night series. It is a very, very requested one to go limited. I think this one would actually do pretty well, similar to kind of those King of the Night crowns. So right over here, we did the pink one, there's this purple one, the navy one is a toy code, so that can't go limited, but we do have these 2. Then we do also have blue and green, so I think these 4 all do have a good chance of going limited at some point. And kind of staying on that kind of trend, we do have this Silver Emperor of the Night, which is a retexture of this golden one. They both released at the same time. This one was cheaper. I could see going limited to join the golden one that is already a limited item. There are honestly so many other choices I still have yet to touch on because this video is probably going to be an hour long if I did not stop it right here. I will make a 4th part overview that I still have yet to go over. Hopefully you're able to get a clearer idea of some of the series I mentioned in the past, the faces, the hairs, and things like that. And hopefully you're able to see some ideas of a new series that could actually go limited as well. But yeah, that is pretty much this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.